Warning: the following audio drama contains adult themes and scenes of intense violence. Listener discretion is advised. Previously.
Routiers, mercenaries, working with the English.
Don't know if the city will ever recover from this.
Why do you say such things?
Look at us. We are not nobility. We have no wealth to demand obedience. Come back! He said he was going after the English. They will kill him, Blackfriar!
Our valuables are meager, but if it spares the child...
Does it not say that whoever spares the rod hates their children?
Surely such a boy offers no value to you.
He suffers hanging there. Please let the boy lay on the ground.
I have a must-need to speak with your master.
You can speak to me.
If you do not uproot everyone now and leave, you will all be slaughtered.
Pay their ransom and we will be on our way.
Anglo shit!
James, Blackfriar,
I couldn't even save their boy.
come with me.
My son, Blackfriar! They took my son!
No, he still stands here with you.
You don't like to dirty your hands.
What is your name again?
You never asked.
Because I don't need to. You will give it up to me. Samantha.
Eye of the Beholders. Episode 9. Descent into Darkness. The closing of the door jolted Samantha briefly awake. By now, the dripping had left her head and clothing sopped, having hung for days in wearied defeat. Dreary, she could make out Pasquier's red cardinal robes as he returned from the door. Like before, he sat opposite her, without any sign of fatigue.
No sleep. No clarity of thought. All despairingly wet. These things can change.
He held the top of the book again and moved it closer.
Just tell me, Samantha, what it says.
Samantha leaned forward, taking a closer look at his fingers. She spied an unobtrusive, thin black line on one of the nails. A thin line anyone might have. Nevertheless, a line that wasn't there before.
You don't like to dirty your hands.
If it is God's will.
Samantha noted the response was not what he should have given, considering their last exchange. A few more water drops hit, but, surprisingly, she didn't register them, too drawn in by her assumptions. She forced a smile and leaned back, refusing to read.
At least I have hands to dirty.
Samantha knew he was making a point of her ruined limbs. It stung, if only for a moment. She refused to give him the satisfaction. Pasquier returned to his seat by the fire.
Perhaps I should let the blaze die out and let you shiver in the dampness of your garments. No, that is right. You are used to a cold climate. In one fashion or another, young lady, you will tell me what I wish to know.
Samantha cast a half-open eye his direction, examining him. Meanwhile, it appeared Pasquier was also walking with a young monk down one of the city's less populated streets.
Your interpretation of the passage was brilliant, Blackfriar.
I am most humbled by your appreciation, Excellency.
I think you are going to be such a bright light in an otherwise bleak world of temptations and sin.
Long night in study?
Yes. Let me share with you a bit.
Pasquier stopped at a narrow alley, motioning the young friar to take a turn into the shadows of the lane. The monk hesitated.
It is a quicker pass-through.
The monk paused, knowing of the stories plaguing all the young acolytes, of possibly being targeted, turning mad. But still, Pasquier was a cardinal. How could he deny him? So he nodded, and they sauntered down the passage.
I know you can appreciate the idea of God talking through us to our flock, rather than us simply being a vessel of recitation.
Yes. Though God's word is clearly spoken in the Bible, and it is for us to teach and guide others in its instruction, I know he still commands us even this day, and not what was only written hundreds of years ago.
Indeed. Let me show you.
He suddenly took the young monk's ear. The friar was stunned, then could feel Pasquier's mental intrusion.
Do not be frightened. It is God's word coming into you. You hear it.
Startled, the monk nodded.
Then you know you must obey it. Shh. You are fine. God's power is almighty, and you are just realizing your insignificance before it.
The monk buckled. Pasquier checked himself, clearly trying to control the onslaught.
Do not fall. Do not dare ask him to stop.
Though caught in the mental firestorm, the monk did his best to remain strong. Within a moment, a strange relaxation took hold. Then Pasquier felt something he never had before.
God knows your thoughts.
No. No.
Yes. Oh. You forcefully choked up your bread this morning because of its foul taste.
No!
Yes.
Pasquier smiled, wide, probing the deepest recesses of a mind for the first time.
No, please!
You hate the feel of your robes against your skin, but choose to accept it as God's will. Oh, but you prefer the feel of something else. Something...
No! No!
supple. Young.
No, God! No! I beg you! Forgive me!
Your vows. You took Because of your sister.
No!
Pasquier let go and the monk collapsed to the ground. Pasquier watched, taking in what he had just experienced, then knelt and placed a comforting hand on the boy.
Such sin, I have no doubt, can be washed away if you follow the commandments God has spoken through you. Do what he demands, and all of this will be between you, him, and of course, I can keep a secret. Here, take my hand.
Ruined, the friar took it, kissing it over and over as Pasquier raised him to his feet.
As I said before, you can be a promising light in a dark world. You are wise because you have tasted, you know that darkness.
Yes, yes, Excellency. Yes.
A true warrior for God.
Whatever he desires of me.
Pasquier put a nurturing arm around him.
Very good, my son. Now let us both sleep on it.
Friar James bartered for a horse at the ransacked town's livery. The owner humbly shook his hand and allowed him to take saddle. James steered the animal out of the stall onto the street, stopping at a home where Aaron was assisting the occupants with placing a structural beam. Aaron appeared quite baffled, approaching him.
We have already let 3 days pass, with probably 3 more to go.
You're sure you are ready?
James nodded, though his countenance appeared to betray him. Aaron looked back to the family, who gave him a nod of appreciation and release. James offered a hand and helped Aaron to sit behind him.
How did you get such a fine horse?
For returning the rector.
They rode for a long while in silence. Aaron could sense the persistent struggle within James of his unwanted killing of the English squire, and how it contrasted with his spirit reading of Labrie to Louis.
You wonder about God's condemnation of killing when no such death exists.
No. God gives us life. It is not up to us in determining when it's meant to end for another.
But does not the person who was killed also bear some responsibility? The father's son made apologies for how he brought himself into the world of spirit.
I only know, I pray, that if I can keep the life of one of my brothers in Avignon from leaving this world, and however this darkness poisons them, then perhaps God will take leniency on me.
Meanwhile, the young monk Pasquier assaulted made his way to various clergy, to friars and a priest. He queried them all for assistance, to which they agreed to provide. The priest eventually paid visit to one of the palace's offices.
I received a request you wish to see me, Excellency.
The cardinal behind the desk turned around. It was Pasquier.
Yes. Yes.
He motioned and the priest closed the door behind him.
I must admit, I am rather confounded.
Oh, I only have a simple request.
He stepped around the desk and offered the priest to take a seat.
how may I be of service?
As he lowered himself to the chair, Pasquier took him by the ear. At first, the priest was rightly confused, but allowed the strange contact to remain as his rear touched the seat cushion. Pasquier closed his eyes to concentrate. It was then that the priest felt it.
You can hear God's voice, and God can hear yours.
The darkness of night had already fallen when Pasquier stepped down the ladder after refilling the water bowl again. Samantha still hung over the desk, delirious, barely conscious. Pasquier set the pitcher down. Then, Samantha did her best to focus on the undecipherable whispers with whoever he was talking to behind the door. Pasquier returned to the desk, again sitting opposite her and lifting the book.
One last time.
Samantha struggled to lean forward, barely opening her eyes, focusing on his fingernails.
You're the meaner one.
What are you talking about? Read the page, or...
There's two of you. Clever. Fool people. Twins.
Pissed, Pasquier lowered the book and stood.
Your hands gave you away.
Sneering, Pasquier grabbed her by the ear.
And it is by my hand you will now tell me everything I wish to know. That is right. You are so weak, so pathetic. You cannot resist. You wouldn't tell me, but I learned. I now steal your thoughts and know what you know. Stop resisting.
Pasquier was frustrated, clearly not getting everything he was hoping for.
Show me how to read the texts. Show me. Give me what I demand to know.
Pasquier gasped, taking it all in. He let go and Samantha fell forward, landing onto the desktop, limp. Even the water torture didn't revive her. Slowly, curiously, Pasquier took the book and gazed at the page. His eyes lit up, his lips widening in an incredulous smile.
Yes. Yes!
He gently closed the book, astounded and satisfied. He stared at Samantha, considering the ramifications of his newly acquired ability. He checked her mouth. She wasn't breathing.
This library will now tell me everything you no longer can.
With that, he hurried out of the room, taking the Muein tome with him. Samantha gasped back to life. Still, she was beaten, unable to free herself. A tear welled in her eye, then rolled off her cheek, blending with another drop from the torture bowl. Elsewhere, Pasquier, like so many other high-ranking clergy, had his own private villa just outside Avignon, across the holy city's stone bridge over the Rhone River, in the suburb of Villeneuve-les-Avignon. It was in the villa's library where Pierre had met up with his master Renier and kneeled before him, head down, guilty in losing his former Muein prey.
Get on your feet. You should be commended, not condemned, for the two who got away.
Pierre stood, quite reticent. Renier poured himself a drink.
They quickly hurried back to their temple in the Alps, where we killed the man and took possession of the girl, and who, just hours ago, I am told, gave us what we were looking for.
My lord, when we first set out, there were 2 men and the girl. When they arrived at the western caves, one of the men had gone and was replaced by another woman, who we burned. Was this man you found older or younger?
Older. So there is another one out there.
And when I first saw the girl, she claimed he was her husband.
A spark lit in Renier's eyes, knowing that Aaron would soon come looking for Samantha, that he would be coming to Avignon. He slammed the goblet down and hurried into a dining hall where the bulk of his commanders were celebrating.
Round up. We take a squad back to the holy city.
By the time night fell, James and Aaron had taken refuge at another monastery along the way. It was a midnight mass, and Aaron had convinced James to take part in the service. As the monks progressed in a line to receive the Eucharist, James waited, nervous, feeling undeserving.
Corpus Domini nostri, Jesu Christi, custodiada animoam tuam in vietam aeternam.
Aaron watched from the shadows, sitting in a pew far in the back of the chamber. A sensation suddenly wrapped around him. He closed his eyes. When he peered out again, Rachel was sitting beside him, dressed in a white robe.
Samantha needs you. You must not stay here.
He was only 2 people away from accepting the Eucharist when James looked Aaron's direction, noting that he was leaving the chapel.
She fell briefly into Golda and Weimark's arms, but they helped her back.
How do I find her in the city if it is cloaked by the darkness?
When they held her, they were able to see glimpses of where she was before returning her spirit.
All of a sudden, Golda and Weimark stepped in on Aaron's right, seemingly coming out of the wall. They too were dressed in white robes, looking ready to show him what they knew. Moments later, Aaron mounted the horse, stealing a lit torch perched on the stall post. As he maneuvered the steed out of the enclosure, James rushed to intercept.
Aaron! Wait!
I must go. My companion is in grave danger.
And I cannot remain here. My soul will not accept the Eucharist until I have atoned for my sin. I must save my companions as you would save yours.
Aaron paused, then offered his arm and helped James onto the horse.
I have prayed for our deliverance.
With that, they rode out of the monastery and galloped into the night. While Renier crossed the large bridge that spanned the Rhone River leading back to Avignon, a company of troops following behind him. Samantha didn't know how long she had been there, still shackled, but it had been long enough that the water bowl had at last gone dry.
Father, Mother.
Still too beaten, she couldn't see them, but Golda and Wymark were beside her, and she could hear them.
You must let go, like you never have before.
They must believe you no longer live, or they really will kill you.
Aaron is coming.
The mention of Aaron's name filled her with sudden inspiration. She lifted her head, then worked toward focusing into meditation. It wasn't long before Pasquier was hurrying back down the steps toward the basement room, with Renier, Pierre, and 2 lieutenants.
We shall remove the chests and take them to my villa.
When they burst in, it appeared Samantha was still slumped dead over the table. Pasquier pointed to the Muein chests.
There.
Wait.
He examined Samantha. Seeing her skin had turned pale. Nonetheless, he clenched her mouth and listened for her breath, then checked her pulse. He yanked a dagger.
Only one way to be sure.
He thrust, but Pasquier stopped him, only centimeters from staking her.
Stop it. If he finds her mutilated, will he grieve or will he seek revenge?
Maybe revenge either way.
He's right. Put it away. Revenge is not their means, but if you mark her, it may be different. Look at her. She is already gone. Now get over here and help with these.
Pierre sheathed his blade and helped with the chests.
He will come looking. Then we will take him.
Pasquier stood aside as the others removed the prized chests from the room. Aaron and Friar James stopped at a crest in the hill overlooking the suburb of Villeneuve-les-Avignon. It came with an imposing fortress, with the holy city of Avignon and the Pope's palace even further in the distance, with the narrow bridge over the Rhone still to cross. What's more, the air now surrounding them felt thick, dark.
You feel it too, don't you?
It is heavy, like walking through deep mud.
He crossed himself, then lifted rosary beads dangling around his chest and kissed them. Aaron nodded, and they continued. They passed through the suburb with relative ease, then across the bridge into the metropolis that was Avignon. They spied all kinds of clergy walking about, along with merchants and peasants. They also bore witness to the dirt and grime that naturally built up in areas of high-density living. James scrunched his nose, impacted by the city's smell of cesspools and other rotting debris.
I need make my way to the palace.
You can set me in an alley.
They stopped in an extremely narrow back street, just wide enough for Aaron to slide off the horse.
Do you think we'll chance to see each other again?
Yes. God wills it.
They clasped forearms.
I'll pray for you and your companion.
And I for your brothers.
God bless, my friend.
They paused, affirming their friendship. Then James gingerly walked the horse back into the open road. He failed to notice Philip, Pierre, and other members of Renier's team standing inconspicuously on a corner. They had found him, watching him. Pierre licked the blade of his dagger.
That's the one.
Pass the word.
One of the other warriors nodded and casually stepped away. Philip motioned to a trio of plainclothes knights across the street, who surreptitiously followed James. Then Philip and Pierre parted, crossing the roadway to follow Aaron. Meanwhile, Aaron casually turned down several streets. During his journey, he took note of a particularly busy market road, but chose to avoid it. In the background of the din, his consciousness sensed the many pairs of eyes following him. At first, he sensed 2. Then around another block, there were 3 others. After feeling he had gathered them all together, he turned back and calmly entered the chaos of the market street. He was willing to gamble, as so many people crowding to and fro, he could lose them. Philip drew his team together.
You see him anywhere?
Everyone shook their heads, unable to make Aaron out within the crowd.
Shit. Break out, but do not give yourself away. We take him only in number.
The group split, one by one, into the crowd. Philip thought he saw him. He followed through several people, down another alley, and across a street into a park. It was a small field outlined with trees that stretched into a tiny courtyard beside a row of tightly packed apartments next to a medium-sized cathedral. Philip stopped, looking all around. Aaron was nowhere to be seen. He hesitated, trying to anticipate where he might have moved next. After several considerations, he left the field and crossed another street. Nonetheless, Aaron was in the park, hiding cleverly within the trees, outside Philip's angle of perception. After seeing Philip disappear down another back street, he double-backed through the trees, keeping eyes on Philip's direction, turning the tables, him now hunting Philip. He remained hidden behind people, carts, and horses as he watched Philip getting frustrated at having lost him. Aaron momentarily closed his eyes to feel out the knight's next move. After landing on a probability, he hurried along a string of buildings. Within a few minutes, Philip was passing down another narrow alleyway. When he reached the end, he walked by what appeared to be a homeless peasant sitting with his head between his legs. He gave the man no thought and moved briskly past him. The peasant rose to his feet.
Alms, good sir? Alms?
Philip turned, only to see Aaron's hands clambering down toward his ears. The impact was like an explosion inside his skull, sending him to the ground. Delirium took over, the hit creating an instant mental fog and consequent upset over his nervous system. It left him unable to avoid Aaron taking hold of his ear. The Muein guardian closed his eyes and dived in, searching Philip's mind. The link coalesced with Philip's consciousness, bringing the knight back into equilibrium and utter astonishment at what was happening. Aaron was not only gathering information, he was implanting information, suggestion, truth. Philip's eyes widened. awed at this spectacle that was blowing open his soul. Throughout the rest of the day, Aaron remained hidden in groups of people and other outcroppings as he made his way across the city. Thankfully, his link with Philip's consciousness had given him what he had hoped, the location of Samantha's whereabouts. As the sun began its descent for the arrival of night, Aaron spotted a pair of spies keeping watch on the tenant house. He was willing to wait a bit longer. Within a few hours, the veil of night covered the city, and with the arrival of rain, the combination of darkness and drizzle made his sudden attack on the spies that much easier. Satisfied, he clothed himself in one of their outfits, keeping the dagger and sword of the fallen assailants for himself. He casually crossed the street, acting as if he were one of them, disappearing into the building. Aaron swiftly found his way to the basement, cutting through the darkness with a lit oil lamp he chanced upon upstairs. By now, the hearth was dark, the room cold. He rushed to Samantha. She was still slumped over the table, her skin pale. He caressed her cheek, noting how his breath carried in the chill of the room.
Samantha.
He looked over her bonded arms, seeing the loss of her hand.
Sam, it's me. Come back. I'm here. I'm going to get you out.
Blessed your light be.
Relieved, Aaron kissed her.
Blessed be your light. What have they done to you?
A little torture. Nothing I wasn't able to handle.
Aaron frantically searched the room for whatever he could find to break her locks. It was on the bookshelf with all the herb potions where he came across a key. It was the right one. He undid her feet, then her arms, and gently lifted her from the chair.
Those look like new clothes.
They held each other, forehead to forehead.
Oh, Sam.
They have some skill, Aaron. They have learned how to blend mind. Twin brothers.
What did they take?
I tried to resist.
I know.
They had me poisoned. Couldn't fight.
It was all right. All right. What did they get?
How to read the library.
Let's go. Let's go.
He cradled her toward the chair, draping her in a blanket hanging there, then escorted her to the door.
I can't fight.
You won't need to.
Aaron double-checked the street before leaving the tenement doorway. Satisfied, he helped Samantha outside. They stayed to the edge of the building as they made their escape.
I really hate the rain.
They made it to a string of horses parked outside an inn.
Do you think you can ride?
Yes.
Aaron helped her onto one of the horses, then climbed up and took the reins. They proceeded casually into the street, Samantha holding tightly against him and laying her head on his shoulders. Aaron kept the horse at a simple trot, nothing to draw too much attention, taking them across the bridge leading out of the city. When they were finally free, he kicked the horse into a gallop and away into the darkness of night. He took them into the rural lands beyond the suburbs, ending at an abandoned homestead that was barely standing. The fields surrounding it had all grown over. He helped Samantha off the horse and led her through the tall grass.
Where are we?
Abandoned homestead. Left behind from the time of the great mortality, I imagine.
Within a few minutes, they were inside the derelict home, out of the rain. Aaron built a small fire in the hearth, then laid Samantha gently down before its warmth and light. She was shivering from the wetness, the cold, and the shock.
You will be fine here.
Samantha nodded, looking forward to finally sleeping.
Sam, I have to stop them from reading the library, if they already have skill.
I know. Guardian.
And there's something else. I have to check on a friend.
You? A friend? Back there? I must be dreaming.
Aaron kissed her.
I got from one of their mines where they are hiding the library. I mean to burn it.
Do it. Do it.
Don't go anywhere.
I make no promises.
Aaron stood, centered himself, then returned outside. Next time.
However you found your way here, we will take it from you.
Do you not see that such wisdom only exists by virtue of the infinite expressing itself in the multiplicity of all life?
I am going to get you like I did everyone in your temples. Your wife and your friar friend.
Where is my friend?
Find him yourself.
James! God wills I get you out of here.
I have seen the light. I am redeemed.
I can still feel them. I can still feel the spirit of each of them.
We take what God wills us to. He needs his warriors now more than ever against such scourge.
You feel your God's warrior angels.
You know it's true.